Crawford, who is, I mean, he's an outstanding pound for pound, world champion, and what he's done in his last, in his recent fights is commendable.
Oscar De La Hoya declares Terence Crawford the greatest pound-for-pound fighter ever, subtly warning Canelo to brace for a potential upset this September. The September fight may still be months away, but discussions surrounding Canelo versus Crawford have been intensifying. As anticipation builds, several fighters have weighed in on the matchup, with Jake Paul and David Benavidez expressing concerns about Crawford's ability to handle the weight jump. According to Paul, Crawford's skills are undeniable, but the size disparity could be a major obstacle. He emphasized that Crawford is moving up 2 divisions and could face a nearly 30-pound disadvantage against Canelo.
Crawford's amazing, but
he's coming up from 2 weight classes.
30-pound, 20-pound difference.
Benavidez echoed similar thoughts, acknowledging Crawford's boxing IQ but questioning his physical strength at higher weight classes. He pointed out that Crawford did not seem particularly strong at 154 pounds, making his jump to 160 and 168 even more concerning.
Who do you think wins that fight, though?
To be honest with you, it's like I wouldn't be surprised if Crawford wins, but I wouldn't be surprised if he loses either. I think Crawford is a tremendous fighter. He has a great IQ in boxing, but I think, just the weight difference is just too massive. And not to knock Crawford off, but he didn't really look as strong at 154, so he's still going to go up 2 weight classes, 160 and 168. So I mean, I think that just tells everything that needs to be said.
Moving on, former world champion Juan Manuel Marquez also expressed skepticism regarding Crawford's move to super middleweight. According to him, weight classes exist for a reason, and history has shown that drastic weight jumps can negatively impact fighters.
Canelo Alvarez linked it with Terence Crawford. They're probably going to get together in September. How do you see that fight going?
I don't like the fight because Terence Crawford is a good fighter, but in the sport of boxing, it has divisions. What's that mean?
Right, weight classes.
Right? Yeah, weight classes
for a reason.
Weight classes and Terence Crawford is a good fighter in super lightweight, welterweight, super welterweight, but I think more.
Juan recalled Crawford's performance against Israel Madrimov, where he appeared slower and lacked power, raising concerns about how he would handle a much heavier opponent like Canelo. While he acknowledged Crawford's defensive skills and combination punching, he ultimately believes the weight transition will be too much to overcome.
I remember when Terence Crawford fought with Madrimov.
Yes.
He looks slow. He looks with no power, and 3 more divisions, two more divisions is, I think it's a top fight for Terence Crawford, but Terence Crawford is a great fighter. He has a great defense. He has a good combination punches, but I think the weight class is no good for him.
Similarly, Ryan Garcia voiced strong doubts about Crawford's chances. In his view, Crawford's struggles against Madrimov exposed vulnerabilities, and Madrimov is not even considered a big fighter. Garcia emphasized that Canelo has mastered his style and maintains complete control inside the ring, making it difficult for Crawford to find openings. He firmly stated that he does not see the fight being competitive, as he believes Canelo's experience and ring generalship will be too much for Crawford to handle.
He can't beat Canelo. No way. I mean, I don't see him beating Canelo. He didn't even look that strong against Madrimov, to be honest. And Madrimov's not even a big.
Yeah, different style though. Madrimov has a jerky
different style, yeah, but
in and out, count him, punching, hard to time.
The thing with Canelo is he's mastered his style, and he ain't gonna change it up. But he's mastered it. Like he understands what's going on in the ring at all times. I just don't see Terence beating him. I don't.
Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford will fight on September 13th, 2025 at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. The bout, set at 168 pounds, puts all of Alvarez's titles on the line. Crawford, who has spent most of his career in lower weight classes, is making a bold move to challenge Alvarez, leading many experts to question whether the added weight will affect his performance. Despite the skepticism, Crawford himself remains unfazed by the criticism. In a recent interview with Manuk Akopian, he delivered a sharp response to those doubting his chances. According to him, he has been underestimated throughout his entire career, but has always proven his critics wrong. He dismissed concerns about his size and power, stating that he had faced similar doubts before. In his view, the fight will not just be a challenge for him, but for Canelo as well.
I've been doubted my whole career. If you ask anybody that's been following me, they all tell you, oh, we didn't, by the media, and by all the negative things that people said about Terrence Crawford along the way, they would have never thought I'd be in this place that I am now. But I did. So it's funny to say, because I've been hearing this my whole career, that I'm too small for this guy. This guy's too strong, or this guy punches too hard. I don't got no chin, or I'm this, I'm that, you know. So I just suck it all in and just laugh, because those fighters and those people that have this negative thought of Terrence Crawford never been in the ring before. So it don't even bother me. Me and Canelo is gonna be a tough fight for both of us, you know. But at the same time, I don't know.
While acknowledging Canelo's greatness, Crawford remains confident in his own abilities. He recognizes Canelo's strengths, including his power, timing, and counterpunching skills, but he believes there are still many unknowns.
Like I always say, I say the same thing every time somebody asks me, like when they ask me about the Spence fight. Do I think that's gonna be the toughest fight of my career? And I said, I don't know. I ain't never been in the ring with Spence. I never sparred him, never been in the ring, never felt his punching power, no nothing. So I can't give you a blind judgment on if I think that's gonna be the toughest fight of my career. Just like with Canelo Alvarez. We all know Canelo is great. We all know he's big. We all know he's strong. He got good timing. He got good punching power. He moves his head well. He's a good counter puncher. We all know all that things about Canelo, you know, but we never seen Terrence Crawford at 168. So we don't know. We don't know if Terrence Crawford can take his punch power. We don't know if Canelo is going to be able to box, you know, toe for toe with Terrence. We don't know if...
According to him, people assume Canelo will dominate simply because of his experience at 168 pounds, but fights are not won on assumptions. Crawford views this as an opportunity to test himself against another all-time great and is determined to seize the moment.
Canelo's going to be able to push him around. We know Canelo's going to be able to walk him down because he's been in that weight class longer than Crawford. But in reality, we don't know. You know, that's why two fighters fight. You know, so I'm just excited to be in a position to have the opportunity to be in the ring with another all-time great, and it's going to be an exciting fight. And I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to winning.
Adding to the discussion, Dmitry Bivol also analyzed Crawford's size as a potential factor. Initially, he questioned whether Crawford could successfully transition to a higher weight class. But after seeing Crawford in person in Dubai, he acknowledged that the welterweight champion looked bigger than expected. He expressed that Crawford's skill set could allow him to remain competitive even at higher divisions.
He able to win this fight. But there is a lot of but, and even not but, there is a lot of things, small things, which we don't know how he will deal with this. He need to get used to the power and pressure of 168 because it's big difference, to be honest. Maybe he will get used to it, and how he will be feeling himself.
Despite the size disadvantage, despite recognizing the challenges, Bivol also expressed confidence in Crawford's ability to adapt. According to him, there are many uncertainties surrounding how Crawford will handle the power and pressure at 168 pounds. He noted that adjusting to a higher weight class is a complex process, but Crawford's skills, versatility, and unique fighting style could help him navigate those challenges. Whether he can fully acclimate remains uncertain, but Bivol believes that Crawford should not be written off.
The same day when he will fighting, how his training camp will go on, a lot of things. But he's able, he has good skills, he's awkward, he can use two boxing stands. It gives him benefits, of course.
I was at that same event in Dubai just before Christmas, and I saw him too, and I thought exactly the same thing, which is that he is quite big.
Yeah.
Size obviously is important. Jamel Charlo stepped up from super welterweight to super middleweight to box Canelo, and it didn't work at all for him. But Crawford is I mean, he's one of the best fighters in the world, isn't he?
Meanwhile, Oscar De La Hoya has also weighed in on the debate, acknowledging Crawford's achievements and legacy. According to him, Crawford is an outstanding pound-for-pound world champion, and his recent performances have been commendable. He highlighted Crawford's dominant victories over Errol Spence Jr. and Israel Madrimov, but also pointed out an important factor: Crawford's age.
Crawford, who is, I mean, he's an outstanding pound for pound, world champion, and what he's done in his last, in his recent fights is commendable, and what he did to Spence and Madrimov, and but you have to keep in mind that he's what, 36? Is he 36?
I think it's 36, yeah.
Yeah, he's 36 years old, and he's been in some, he has a lot of fights.
De La Hoya acknowledged the challenges that come with age in boxing, but made it clear that Crawford is not showing the usual signs of decline. He explained that many fighters at 36 start experiencing issues like shaky legs and reduced conditioning, yet Crawford appears to be an exception. De La Hoya even described him as a young 36, suggesting that age may not be a disadvantage for him in this fight.
And, so it's, at 36 years old, you start to, you hit the little peak, and then something happens to your legs, and they start to shake a little. They your conditioning is not 100%. There's something always wrong when you hit that stage of your career at 36, So who knows? I mean, look, I think Crawford is a young 36.
Floyd Mayweather, who defeated Canelo in 2013, has also praised Terence Crawford's accomplishments. He firmly believes that Terence Crawford is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the sport today. According to him, it is great to see Crawford in this position, and he encouraged Crawford to continue proving his greatness inside the ring.
Terence Crawford, right now in the sport of boxing, is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the sport of boxing right now. It's good to see him in the position that he's in. I think he has a beautiful family.
Looking ahead, Crawford has already begun envisioning his place in history. When asked about his legacy, he made it clear that there are no ifs, only when. According to him, when he defeats Canelo, he will be recognized as one of the top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in history. He sees himself as an all-time great, and this fight is another step in solidifying his legacy.
And that's who they want to win, and when they don't win, they got to look for an excuse why they didn't win. I wanted to fight Spence, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, all those top welterweights when I moved in the division. And
Porter, Ugas, there was a lot of them.
Well, I wouldn't say Porter because that wasn't somebody that I was searching for at the time. Ugas wasn't the champion either, but once Ugas became champion, he was definitely a fighter that I wanted to fight. But all these other fighters, they all had excuses that I haven't fought in the welterweight division yet.
Moving on, Shakur Stevenson revealed that he had been predicting Crawford's ability to defeat Canelo long before the discussion gained traction. Speaking to Ring Magazine, he mentioned that right after Crawford's fight against Sean Porter, he had already voiced his belief that Crawford could beat Canelo. According to him, this was not a new opinion, but something he had been considering for years, even before Crawford himself started entertaining the idea.
Absurd about it. What did you think of this idea of Bud going up to 68 to fight Canelo?
I ain't gonna lie, I've been putting it out since, I want to say, when he fought Sean Porter. Like back then, if you go watch, it's an interview out there. I had said I think that Terence Crawford would beat Canelo Alvarez right after he fought Sean Porter. So the idea, I've been thinking about it. I've been saying it before Bud even was saying it.
Shakur further explained why he is so confident in Crawford's chances. In his view, Crawford's dominance in his weight class was unmatched, making him a unique threat to Canelo. He pointed out that even before Dimitri Bivol exposed weaknesses in Canelo's game, he had already envisioned Crawford's skill set being the key to victory. According to him, the difference in styles will play a crucial role, and Crawford's abilities make him an ideal fighter to challenge Canelo.
Why were you saying it then? Like, that was what, a few years ago? Was he 160 or 168 at that point? But why did you believe then that was the right fight?
Because I just knew, like, as far as in that weight class, Terence Crawford is like the greatest. So I just feel as though with Canelo's style and like the style of boxing that he got, I think and this is before Bivol did it, but I thought like Terence Crawford was the only guy who I felt as though could have beat Canelo.
Meanwhile, Paulie Malignaggi also praised Crawford's hunger and determination, comparing his mindset to that of Floyd Mayweather. He described Crawford as a fighter with a mean streak, someone who continuously pushes himself to be the best. While he acknowledged that Crawford's size disadvantage is a valid concern, he expressed confidence in Crawford's ability to rise to the occasion. Paulie Malignaggi also noted that if Canelo wins, it would allow him to avoid a fight with David Benavidez, a mandatory challenger he has yet to face.
He is a guy who's reminds me of Floyd, and that he stays hungry, motivated, and wants to still be the best, has that mean streak in the ring. Not to say that Canelo doesn't have a mean streak, but I feel like once you start punching Canelo a few times in the face, that mean streak ain't so mean anymore. You know what I mean? He punks out a little bit. So while Crawford, I feel like, wants to go for the gusto. That doesn't mean to me that Crawford wins because he's small, but I'm just saying I believe more now that Crawford can win than I did originally when this was first being talked about. And I would love to see Crawford win because I feel like if Canelo gets this payday, which is going to be a big payday, and then also gets the win out of it, it's just too much of a reward for outright ducking Benavidez and being allowed to duck his mandatory contender while holding all the belts hostages at 168 pounds for so long and not letting that weight class run its course the way it should.
At the same time, Malignaggi has raised concerns about Canelo Alvarez's current form, questioning whether he is still in his prime. Speaking to Fight Hype, he pointed out that in previous losses, especially against Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Dimitri Bivol, Canelo failed to take risks or push himself when facing adversity. Malignaggi believes that since the Bivol fight, Canelo has significantly lowered the level of his opposition, suggesting that he may no longer be at his peak.
I was originally thinking Crawford might be too small. I think Crawford is a way more complete fighter than Canelo ever was. I think Crawford is just, the only risk here is Crawford's small. You think about it though, Duran was a former lightweight and he was able to beat Iran Barkley eventually, right? So it's not out of the question. And this Canelo is not the prime Canelo. This Canelo is also a Canelo who's trying to steal bags while half-assing it. He never really took a risk in the Floyd fight once he was outclassed. He just accepted it, like, all right, this guy's outclassing me. With Bivol, it's worse because Bivol, now you're in your prime, and you can't use the excuse that you weren't experienced. You physically saw and mentally saw this guy's better than me, and you made a conscious decision not to take a risk. I'm gonna just go the distance, and I'm gonna be happy to do it. Made a conscious decision. That exposed a lot because ever since then, he lowered his level of opposition tremendously. Okay, so I look at that and I see, remember what I said about Crawford earlier in this interview.
Meanwhile, Terence Crawford also believes that Canelo has not been fighting with the same intensity in recent years. He expressed the opinion that Canelo held back in his fights against Jaime Munguia and Edgar Berlanga, and against Jermell Charlo. He didn't need to push harder since Charlo was constantly moving. However, Crawford expects a different Canelo in their fight, believing that this will be the best version of Canelo yet. With discussions about the fight potentially taking place at Raiders Stadium in front of 70,000 people, Crawford sees this as a massive event where both fighters will have to rise to the occasion.
To get up for those fights that he's been getting up on. I think he held Munguia up. I think he could have did more damage, but the respect that he had for Munguia, he just, really too much didn't want to hurt the kid. I think with Berlanga, it was what it was. He showed a dominant performance against Berlanga, and he just felt like he didn't have to do too much of nothing, and so with Charlo was moving a lot, he won every round, so he really didn't feel the need to go in there and try to just maul him down. But I think, with me, he's gonna be the best Canelo that we've seen yet.
Similarly, Canelo Alvarez views this fight as one of the biggest moments of his career. Despite already facing elite opponents like Gennady Golovkin, he believes a bout with Crawford could even surpass his fight against Floyd Mayweather in significance. According to Canelo, this matchup has the potential to generate more pay-per-view buys than any other fight in his career. However, while anticipation continues to build for the Crawford fight, Canelo remains focused on his immediate bout against William Skull.
I spoke to Oscar De La Hoya the other day. He said he believes if you don't face David Benavidez, your legacy will be tainted forever. Just your reaction to that?
No, I don't think so. My legacy is my legacy. Nobody can take away my legacy from me. It is what it is.
Final question. You've been involved in some massive fights in your career, the GGG trilogy. Is Crawford the biggest fight because of everything around it, everyone around it, the fact that it might be on Netflix we're hearing as a part of a big deal with TKO?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be bigger. Even the Mayweather fight is gonna be bigger than that.
You think it does more pay-per-view buys than the Mayweather fight?
Yeah, I think so. But you know, first is first. I'm gonna be focused on William School.
The excitement surrounding this fight has also sparked discussions about the undercard. Seeing the massive interest, Crawford gave his thoughts on the lineup, suggesting that a fight between Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson should be the co-main event. Speaking to Manuka Kopian's YouTube channel, Crawford stated that such a matchup would make the card even more spectacular. However, he also noted that Tank Davis might not agree to be on the undercard, as he sees himself as the star of his own show.
What's the undercard gonna look like?
I don't know. It's gonna be crazy. It should be crazy. You know, Crawford and Canelo. I'm pretty sure.
Shakur and Tank.
Yeah, that would be dope. That would be dope. But you know,
I think that's the day the sports world stops, right?
Yeah.
If we get a super card of that caliber.
If Tank was not so cocky to be on a Terrence Crawford undercard, that would be dope. But I don't see Tank taking a backseat to no fighter, because he'll think it's the Tank show.
Before Davis could respond, Shakur Stevenson quickly rejected the idea of fighting on Crawford's undercard. "Love you, big bro, but nah, me and Tank? That's the biggest fight in the sport," Stevenson wrote on X. He insisted that their fight alone would generate massive pay-per-view numbers, telling fans to watch what I say. At the same time, discussions about this fight are closely linked to recent developments within TKO Group Holdings, the company that oversees both UFC and WWE. During a recent appearance on ESPN, Turki Alal Sheikh publicly urged Dana White to reveal details about the first event under their new boxing venture, hinting that Canelo vs. Crawford could be a defining event under the new combat sports structure.
I want to tell you a secret, if he allowed me. Ask him which the first event fight he will have in September. Ask him if you want to answer.
Hey, Dana, I have a question for you. Birdie just dropped in my ear the first event that's happening in September. I didn't know if you knew anything about that or anything going on.
These are things that we want to pump the brakes on and announce these things.
Dana White has also addressed the ongoing rumors regarding his involvement in the Canelo vs. Crawford fight. Speaking to Fight Hype, he clarified that his vision for boxing differs from the traditional promotional model, as he aims to rebuild the sport from the ground up. White acknowledged that while TKO Holdings has obligations over the next 18 months, his primary focus is on changing the way boxing operates.
Well, listen, my model is way different. Turkey has things that he's obligated to over the next 18 months. I want to break the sport down and build it from the ground up like we did in the UFC. So I'm on a different path.
However, Dana also recognized that both Canelo and Crawford have accomplished a great deal in their careers. While he did not make a prediction on the fight, he admitted that he would probably be in attendance, showing his interest in how the fight unfolds.
Terrence Crawford and Canelo, are you concerned about that? I know you're not a big fan of fighters moving up.
I don't know. I mean, these are two guys that have accomplished a lot. You know, it's one of what you would call a super fight. Absolutely. And I do super fights, so.
Who do you feel wins?
I don't know. I don't know.
Will you be in attendance? Will you be there?
Probably.
The sheer scale of this fight has drawn massive attention from both within and outside the boxing community. Fans, analysts, and fighters from various combat sports are all discussing its impact, with many believing it will be the defining event of the year. The crossover appeal between boxing and MMA has also added to the excitement, making it a spectacle that transcends traditional boxing audiences. With so many key figures involved, the fight is becoming bigger than just a sporting event. It's a cultural moment. Whether it lives up to expectations remains to be seen, but the anticipation continues to grow with every new development. With everything on the line, this fight could redefine the legacies of both Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford. Will Canelo prove that he is still the dominant force in boxing, or will Crawford shock the world and overcome the size disadvantage? Fans have been debating both sides, and the buildup has only made the outcome more unpredictable. The boxing world is buzzing, and everyone has an opinion. Now it's your turn. Drop your predictions in the comments and let us know who you think walks away victorious.